Hi, and welcome to the University Supervisor online training session from Concordia University in Nebraska. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that this session is informative and helps you to understand your duties as a university supervisor for Concordia, Nebraska. First of all, I want to give you this list of contact information for those of us in the education department you may want to have contact with while you're working with our student teachers. So here are phone numbers and email addresses of those people that you may need to contact for whatever reason. I want to talk to you for 1 second about resources, some things that will come in handy to you as you serve as a university supervisor. First of all, anything you need to be successful in this assignment are found on the student teaching website, which I have listed here below. The URL will take you to that website. When you get there, simply search for the student teaching session for which you will be serving, either student teaching 1 or student teaching 2, and drop down for university supervisor. You will find all the forms that you need to be successful in this assignment. You'll also notice that there are tabs for the cooperating teacher and the student teacher, and you may want to look through those just to see what they have at their fingertips on that website as well. Also, just to let you know that online evaluation forms will always be sent to you electronically from Brenda Topol at this email address. Your online evaluation form will come at the end of the student teacher's time in their classroom. So just be on the lookout for that. And FYI, sometimes they go to your spam folder the first time that Brenda sends them to you. Once you see that, you can then add her into your contacts, and you should not have that problem again in the future. I'm going to basically go through some basic steps that will help you be successful as a Concordia University supervisor. Take these steps and go through them on your own time. The great thing is you can rewatch this video or tutorial whenever you need it, and you can always email and ask questions if you still have something that remains unanswered. First of all, we need you to read through the Student Teaching Handbook for Cooperating Teachers and University Supervisors. A copy of that is located on the Student Teaching website, and you can also get a hard copy if you would prefer in our office. This screen shows you the cover of that so you can kind of get a feel for what you're looking for when you go on the website. Step 2 is to make contact with your student teacher as soon as you have their contact information. You may contact them either through email or phone, whichever you prefer to make that initial point of contact. Brenda Topol will be sending you a paper packet that will come through the mail. We can also give you this information digitally if that helps you, but you should look for that packet in the mail once you know that you will be serving as a supervisor. You will know who your student teachers are there, and you can contact them as soon as possible. Please take a little time in that email or phone call to introduce yourself and talk to them about any positions you serve in currently, what your background is, especially in education and in schools, so that they can kind of get a sense for the person they will be working with. Please remind the student teacher from the beginning that there is an expectation in place that they contact the cooperating teacher and visit the school before student teaching officially begins. It becomes very problematic when the student teacher waits until the first day, shows up without having contacted their cooperating teacher, and just expects to jump right in. The cooperating teacher really wants to hear from them ahead of time and see them in their classroom to begin making that relationship. So begin to set expectations as well for your first visit that you will make to their classroom. That first visit is just a short kind of check-in time to answer any questions, but begin to set those expectations early, and also remind them that there is a weekly online or phone check-in with you. We have a form that they need to send you through email, and then we will leave it up to you whether you want to respond to that form in email, or if you would actually like to have some phone conversations with them sometimes, you can set that up as you wish. Step 3 is to set an appointment to visit the student teacher at his or her school during the first 7 days in the classroom. So it is imperative that you are able to introduce yourself in person sometime within the first week or so that they're in that classroom. And that way they'll feel more confident and comfortable, and they'll be able to ask you any questions that are still lingering. I've also noticed that when I make this early visit, if there seems to be conflict between the student teacher and the cooperating teacher already, or questions, or somebody is not following the protocol, I can tell right away and I can step in and really help to mend the relationship or get things just in order as they should be. So the objective of your appointment is really just to check in, make sure all expectations are understood by both the student teacher and the cooperating teacher. If the cooperating teacher is available to speak with you for a few minutes or as long as they would like, it really helps to meet the cooperating teacher and make sure that he or she does not have questions. If it's a new cooperating teacher, they usually have questions that they would like answered. If they've worked with us before, it may really just be a quick introduction and they may say, yep, I know all the expectations and things are going really well. There is an information acknowledgement form that the student teacher and the cooperating teacher have in the handbook, and they are told that it is an expectation that they get that signed. And what they are both doing is signing that they have read their portions of the handbook and they understand the expectations. It is wonderful if you could pick that up from them on this first visit and then either bring that back to the office here in Seward or send it through the mail or scan it and send it through email. However it works for you, just get that back to us as soon as you can. During this visit, you will not observe the student teacher teaching, since this will still be during the first week that they are in the classroom. It is just an initial conversation, so no expectations that you're observing them teaching during this first visit. Step 4 is to check in with your student teacher once a week through either email or phone. So the student teacher should be sending you a weekly activity report, and there's a form for that located on the student teaching website. The expectation is that you get that once a week. You may set the day that you would like to receive it. If you want to receive it at the end of the week, a Friday, or at the beginning of the week, a Monday, it really is up to you. You let the student teacher know what you expect and they should follow through. This just gives you a nice opportunity to touch base with them every week. There's a box in there where they can state any questions or concerns they have, and then you can respond to those either through email or giving them a phone call and having a conversation with them. Step 5 is to think about making your appointments with the student teacher and the cooperating teacher to conduct your 2 formal observations of teaching. These usually should be done during weeks 4 and 5 for the first formal observation and weeks 6 and 8 for the second. Before you go, ask the student teacher to provide a paper or digital copy of the lesson plan using the long form Concordia template, which again is found on the student teaching website. You should receive that prior to the lesson, and again, it is your choice. If you want a paper copy, they should have that printed and copied waiting for you when you arrive to observe. If you like a digital copy, it should be emailed to you and it should be received prior to your arrival. You should not have to ask them when you get there to email you the digital copy of the lesson plan. This is just a way for you to have in front of you what their expectations were for the lesson. That way you can give them feedback at the end if they accomplished everything, if their time ran long in a certain area, and even things like, do they have clear objectives, do they have clear ideas in their main lesson, etc. Find a way that you can take notes about what you notice while they're teaching. We have multiple forms for you on the Concordia Student Teaching website that you may use. You do not have to use them all or any of them. I personally have my own system for taking notes, and I type them in my laptop, and then when I'm finished we talk through them, and then I email my copy to both the student teacher and the cooperating teacher so that they have the written feedback. Sometimes it's nice for them to have that to go back over later. When they're done teaching, you engage in discussion and you talk through the student teacher about how the lesson went. I always start with positive feedback because they're very fragile sometimes and they're feeling very overwhelmed with you there to watch them. I always begin with the positive stuff I saw, and I ask them how they felt the lesson went for them. Many times they are very humble and they barely tell you what they thought went well, and they go straight to what they thought did not go well. And I really try and just keep it positive at the beginning so that they feel comfortable with me. Once we've gone through that, I always find areas of growth. It does not help them to tell them everything they did was fine and they have no improvement, no reason for improvement. Please find ways where you can, in a gentle way, show them where they need to improve. If possible, ask the cooperating teacher to take part in your discussion and share his or her feedback. I find that that is really useful if they can stay and work with you. Sometimes they have to teach, and so you have to just take the student teacher out on your own so that the cooperating teacher can teach the next class. I also highly encourage you to provide some sort of written copy of your feedback to them for their records. So if you do it in your laptop, it's easy to email. If you do it on paper, it would be nice if maybe they could make a paper copy really fast and you could leave that at the school before you leave. Fill out the site visit report form that you will find on the student teaching website once you're finished with your formal observations, and then just email that to Brenda Topol at the address listed here. Step 6, you will complete a final evaluation of your student teacher at the end of their student teaching experience. Watch for an email with a link to Qualtrics that will come from Brenda Topol, and this is your only formal evaluation of the student teacher that you should receive during weeks 7 to 8 of their experience. You will only complete this one formal final evaluation that will go in their permanent file. All of the other feedback that you give them throughout does not go in their permanent file. This is the only one that will. And again, if you're new with us, you may want to check your spam folder and make sure that it is not in there. And then again, if you accept Brenda as a contact, it should no longer go into that folder. Step 7 is to make sure that you talk with your student teacher about the evaluation form you fill out and give them some final feedback for continued growth. So share that final evaluation with them. Again, either if you can do it in person at their last formal observation, or you can do a discussion over the phone, or even share it through email and talk through kind of what you saw and ask if they have any questions. There are many ways to do this, but somehow they need to know what your final thoughts are and how you can encourage them to continue to grow as an educator. When challenges arise, sometimes things do not go as well as we hope, and so it's nice to know that we have a system in place to support you and to support your student teacher when things arise and concerns arise. If you go to the manual and go to Appendix C, you will see some procedures for the Education Intervention Board. The steps are as follows. When you go to see a student teacher, always give them honest feedback. And talk with them with the cooperating teacher if you're noticing areas of concern, and document that you've given them this feedback. So when you notice concerns and challenges arising, be honest, share that with the cooperating teacher, and then document it so that you have it somewhere in a written record. Step 2, if the student teacher does not improve after you've given some feedback and some areas for growth, you may go to the student teaching website and complete the Student Concern Register and Plan form. This form must be completed because it helps us continue along in the process toward helping a student teacher who may be having some challenges. Share this form with the student teacher and the cooperating teacher, and have the student teacher sign that he or she understands. Keep that paperwork again in your files with your original documentation, and then also let the student teaching director know that you are noticing concerns and that you have filled out the Student Concern Register and Plan. Depending on if you're helping with Student Teaching 1 or 2, you will let Kristen or Beth know. Here's what the Student Concern Register and Plan looks like, which you'll find in your manual and handbook. It's a pretty short form. You just can go right in and type in it, what are your concerns, and then have the student teacher sign that. Step 3, if your student teacher still is not making improvements and following the plan, you move on to completing the referral form for the Education Intervention Board. Send the original Student Concern Register and Plan with your referral form that you find on the website to the Director of Student Teaching, Kristen or Beth. And that is when the student teacher has now been given over to a board in our department, and we will take it from there. So step 4 is that the Education Intervention Board will discuss further steps with you. This is a really great way to just ensure that your student teacher is successful and to have proper documentation along the way. Here's what that referral form will look like, which you will find on the student teaching website. My last tip is to enjoy. This is a really great opportunity to work with teachers as they move toward their future professional goals. We appreciate your service and we hope that you have a great time. Thank you.